Yeah.
These people are confused. Just need to love God stronger. Do I love God more? Do I love me more? I call it the street Jesus.
Live from the Pathway Studios in Johnston proper. You are live from the Path.
And you're listening to Live from the Path. My name is Ben Foost. Thanks for joining us tonight. Mike usually does the singing in, so I'm not going to have to do it. Hey, so here, there you go, Pants. Get up in on it, stuff. All right, hey, man. It is Monday night. If you need to orient yourself, if your week has gone in such a fashion that you do not know what day it is, it's Monday night. It's 10 p.m. Central Time, and you're listening to Live from the Path here on livefromthepath.org. We are with you every Monday night from 10 to midnight, talking about honest faith, fierce grace, and sometimes donkeys. And it generally goes all right.
We haven't had a good donkey conversation for a long time.
No, we haven't. Hey, you remember when we talked to that guy that runs the donkey rodeo?
Yeah.
So I saw in the national news, somebody was talking to a donkey rodeo guy about a Bible rodeo donkey fest in Missouri, and I thought it was the same guy, but it's not, which is weird because I had no idea there were multiple.
There's two
donkey rodeo Jesus fests in Missouri.
I figured once we kind of wind to something that it kind of took the nation by storm.
It was just fine. We are the bellwether.
There's more people watching this than I thought.
I know. That's what I'm saying. It surprises me. All right, hey. So here's what we have going on tonight for you joining us. So, Pants, you gonna be all right over there? We're trying to put on a slightly legitimate radio broadcast.
But better if I go.
Yeah, you're fine. All right. So here's what we got going on. We are going to talk about. We're on number 4. From GodIsImaginary.com. He's got 50 proofs that God is imaginary. We're gonna try to tackle number 4. This is basically God versus science. In a very shallow. It goes into more depth in some of the other proofs. Frankly, this is really God is imaginary in like 11 proofs. He's just expanded them out to get it to an even 50. But we're going to talk about number 4, which is basically look at the science. And so we'll walk through that argument. We'll see if we can come to it. Maybe you'll lose your faith in God completely, or probably not. That's what I'm guessing is not going to happen. But we'll take a look.
There's a good chance you won't.
Yeah, it's probably. In fact, I'm certain that it's not going to happen. So we'll talk about that. We're also going to, in just a few minutes, we're going to talk to Jeff Arrandale. Jeff has been a guest on the show many times, and his CD is coming out on Saturday, and we're going to talk to him a little bit via Skype on the CD. Kind of tell us a little about the show that's coming up, and that's going to be Saturday at the Green Grounds from 6 to 9. Green Grounds Cafes in Valley Junction in West Des Moines. We are tentatively scheduled to broadcast this deal. We really haven't gotten approval from the cafe owner quite yet.
Can we go in undercover? I'll distract them by ordering a milkshake.
Solid. That always takes a couple minutes. That's enough time to get our gear in and set up.
It does. The last time I went there to watch Adam Cates, I thought I should buy something. I'm here. I should support the local business owner, and I'm not a coffee drinker, which is really awkward going into coffee shops, which I do quite often. So I get usually the foo drinks, and I thought, they have ice cream. I'll get a shake. I haven't had a shake. Yeah, I just don't do a lot of shakes.
Yeah,
and it was pretty good.
All right.
You need to. You've been around enough. You need to just start drinking coffee.
I just can't do it. If I have to doctor it up so much that it doesn't taste like coffee anymore, there's so many other beverages I can drink.
No, that's true. If you're going to doctor it up, I would agree. Yeah, I would agree that's true.
That's true.
I drink
coffee
it black.
I could drink.
Yeah, I switched to black. It takes too long to make regular coffee.
Yeah.
I would agree. Okay, so anyway, we're going to talk to Jeff. We'll try to hook up with him about 10:15 and just I don't know, see what's going on with him. I got to listen to the CD today. Here's the real pickle of the matter, all right? He gives me a CD so that we got some cuts to play on the show tonight.
Yeah.
And I was at work and I listened to it. I'm like, all right, good. This is a sweet CD from Jeff Arrandale. And someone goes, hey, man, what's that CD you got? And I'm like, hey, it's Jeff Arrandale. You should take a listen. And then they did. They took a listen, and then they took a CD with them.
Oh, no.
And now I don't have a CD to play the cuts of Jeff Arrandale's latest release.
That is awful.
I know.
They stole an undercover secret CD that hasn't been released yet.
I know, that's what I'm saying. It's
probably going wild on the internet right now.
It's getting out everywhere. People are, they're bootlegging the Arrandale release. So anyway, I still think we might be able to uncover some cuts. We're going to see what goes on. I think it's going to happen. So we're working on that. We're going to talk with Jeff. We're going to hear some cuts. Also, handling snakes for Jesus. There was a pastor that died within the last week and a half, snake handling. And I want to talk about this a little bit because my first reaction is probably not it's not a graceful one. So I'm going to try to handle the story with grace. And then we're going to talk about how people get into something like this.
Did he die by a snake?
Yeah, he got bit by a snake, yeah. And so we're going to look at the scripture that generally backs this type of practice and see if we can come to where, like, if we feel that they've gone wrong, how they've gone wrong. Because ultimately, when people are there's behavior that you shake your head and you're like, I don't know. Like, somehow they've looked at the Word of God and they've gone a different way than I have.
Yeah.
And it's a way of approaching God's Word, and we want to approach it with reverence. We want to approach it with truth. And so we're going to take a look at what they're using to kind of back that type of behavior and see how we got there.
And that's approaching it in a pretty big way. I mean, it's not like, well, you like red and I like blue.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like we're playing with poisonous snakes.
I handle live snakes or I don't.
Yeah. And they're not Garner snakes. I mean, they're deadly snakes.
Yes.
I mean,
his death would vouch.
Yeah, exactly.
So anyway, we're gonna try to talk through that just a little bit, and I'm gonna try to handle it with some grace, to try to see if I can figure out where people are coming from.
Yeah.
Also, we'll do some advice. We got some Dear Life from the Path coming up, and also we'll handle your chat. See what you guys got going on.
We had to get a snake handler on here sometime.
Now, is there any like in this area?
I've heard rumors, but I don't know. You get that's that creepy place.
I think it's illegal,
but I don't know if it's real.
It's illegal in most states. Like West Virginia allows it, and there are a couple there are other states where you can do it via permit.
I was saying it's a freedom of religion thing, isn't it? I mean, what are you gonna do? If it's a
well, that's it. No,
or they're just codes for poisonous snakes.
No, it's entrapment of an animal, which you can't do. And you can't. You actually there's laws in certain states. Tennessee, I think, is one of them where you can't just handle a snake. You have to get a permit if you're going to do it in the public. I think if you're handling snakes at your house, you don't need the permit. Like, it's just you, which is why a lot of them meet in houses. Like, if they're going to do that stuff, they meet in houses so they don't have to bother with the permit.
Well, I don't recall anywhere in the Bible that says, yeah, go ahead and handle the snake. I'll make sure it doesn't bother you.
Yeah,
it's there.
Yeah, we'll talk about that because I mean, like there's scripture that's backing this, and they feel very strongly about it. And if we feel like they've gone off the wrong direction, we should at least be able to come to a reason why, or why we are not in agreement with that, and we'll see how it goes. I actually found it was more interesting. My reaction to the scripture was a little bit different than I thought it would be, and so we'll get to that. We'll talk about the snake handlers, and that's our show. Pants, it's been a while. What have you been doing with yourself?
I heard that there was a guy that handled snakes. I've been trying to scratch my head wondering what was he thinking.
That's how you've been spending your days?
Yeah. You need to get out more often.
Yeah, Pants. The weather's been awesome. Go outside.
It's been sunny. If I was thinking, I would have brought me a little artificial snake along tonight. I didn't think that far ahead. I knew we were going to talk snakes.
I knew snakes were on the docket. Doggone it. Man. Oh, man.
I tell you, if I see a snake, I run for a shovel.
Yeah. Yeah, I would, yeah.
Or if I'm on a mower, I run at it.
Well, hey, check this out. This is terrible. I was mowing the lawn when I was, I had to have been 13 or whatever, in the backyard mowing the yard, and I went over a hole, and a baby rabbit jumped up into the lawnmower, and it decapitated the rabbit. And it was very sad. Like, I didn't know what to do with myself. I thought, I've murdered a baby rabbit who knew nothing else but, like, heard a noise and then went, like, jumping up into the blades of a rabbit. And I don't know if you've ever decapitated a rabbit.
I have not.
But, like, it keeps hopping around for a while.
Really?
So it's like,
that's like the start of a Disney movie.
Yeah. It's pretty much the same.
You got to submit that. Usually it's the parent, but someone dies, usually.
Yeah. Evil lawnmower. They're doing a lot of that evil corporation, evil machinery type of thing in the Disney world. I could ask them. Just something to think about, Pants.
That almost sounds like an evil lawnmower operator.
I wasn't heading for it. I didn't know it was a bunny hole.
I think differently of you.
What are they? Are they nests? Bunnies is a nest?
I don't know.
I couldn't pick out a bunny habitat if I had to. They run in and out. I don't go like seek out where they live and peer in on their business.
So did you have trouble sleeping that night?
Yeah, like
think-
it pit in my stomach. I'm like, I didn't mean
You just
to
feel
do
like
it.
life is over. I've done I ran over a squirrel once, and I was just like, I didn't mean to. It just kind of ran at me, And
Yeah.
I'm like, it's just a squirrel, but I'm thinking, I just squished a squirrel.
Yeah, whoops, man.
Poor thing. You could be out there running in a tree right now and be happy, but no.
No. I had to.
I took care of that.
I had that one time going to work, and a whole flock of birds just came right at the car. I had to have taken 3 or 4 of them out.
What?
And I felt horrible.
Good thing you were not flying.
Yeah, get to work. It was slow, and I was actually Mike was my manager, and he saw my vehicle, and we both just dug a little hole right there in front of the building.
Yep.
Buried it, put a couple sticks together for a little cross, and had a little service.
You gave a funeral for the
Yeah.
bird. Pants, that's gracious.
It didn't help. I still felt horrible.
Oh, well, I can understand it, yeah. Yeah, so I guess in a quicker, we're going to get a hold of Jeff Arrandale here in like the next 4 minutes. And so, practically we're just killing some time here. And so we were talking about incidents of animal attack-ins. And like either they attacked you or you unintentionally attacked them. I accidentally hit a crop of bunnies with a lawnmower. Like totally, seriously. And I was a young kid. I couldn't finish mowing the lawn. I'm like,
that would scar you a little
I'm not
bit.
going back out there, man. It was terrible. And Pants apparently is taking out a flock of seagulls with his Buick.
Yep.
I had a pheasant once, and it was like kind of like a 15-mile trip, no big deal, but it was on a highway, and it just kind of flew at me and went in the grill. And when I got to my destination, it had pretty well cooked on my radiator.
Oh man!
I was going to eat it, but I thought that might be maybe something unhealthy. I don't know. It was.
I'm going to say I actually have eaten pheasant that was roadkill. My father ran it over, and he just
And
pulled it off the side of the road, grabbed it, and then got home and he grilled it. It was pretty good.
Really? I don't know if I've ever had pheasant.
No, I don't think I have either.
Yeah.
Someone was talking to me about that today, talking about eating kind of like lamb and stuff. I'm like, I just haven't come across it.
Even at the
Wiro stand?
the place in Florida, the had the meat skewers.
No, I skipped it.
Oh,
I skipped
that was
it.
pretty good.
At the
That's,
Texas de Brazil.
baby, for that kind of price, I was gonna have everything. Of course, I didn't know how much I was paying until it was over, but
That's true.
it was still good.
Yeah, so we went to we found ourselves unintentionally at some kind of Brazilian steakhouse, and where they just bring this meat by on these big skewers and stuff. I've never been to one of these places. I'm such a podunk guy, and so like they kept bringing these sticks of meat by, and they didn't tell you how much it cost. And I was thinking like $30. My wife's gonna kill me, and it's like 50.
Oh, it was bad.
It was pretty bad.
Oh, when they added the gratuity, it was like 62, wasn't it? 65 or something. It was just like, and the gratuity was for a gal who didn't service.
Yeah.
She came and say, "Hey, do you want a bottle of water?" No, we'll take tap water. Okay.
Okay.
And later on, do you want dessert? And we gave her a $10 tip. We didn't sign up for that. They just decided we were giving her almost $10. Yeah,
That's terrible.
that's a great job. I want that job.
Okay, when you say you tried to run down rabbits in my buddy's alleyway behind his house, wait, are you talking about like with a car or like on foot?
I'm thinking. It looks maybe by a car. In my car.
Wow. That seems like that'd be very difficult.
That's on purpose.
Well, yeah, fair enough. That is on purpose.
Look at that! I'd hit a garage or something. Whoops! Well, I was going after the rabbit.
I feel like you could easily overcommit going after a rabbit with your car and then run into something.
Yeah, they're quick.
Yeah. That's why he gets all those greyhounds excited. Yeah. That's wild. All right, I tell you what. Let's see if we can hook up with Jeff Arrandale. Let's see if he's up.
Hello, Jeff.
Gotta pick it up, man.
I'm just putting filler. And here's Jeff Arrandale.
Oh, man.
Hello?
Jeff Arrandale?
Yes.
This is Ben with Live from the Path. How you doing?
Good. How are you, Ben?
We are doing very well. Now, Jeff, it's getting a little late. Did you fall asleep?
No.
Okay, good. No, I didn't.
No.
I would say I would expect you to be nervous for the big program tonight. I just
I believe he was playing Words with Friends just a few minutes ago.
Hey, well, we are on the line. We're on the line with Jeff Arrandale. Jeff is a very gracious friend of the show. He's been on many times, and he has a CD coming out. In fact, I saw one. I held it in my hands before I gave it away and never to see it again. But his CD release party is this Saturday at Green Grounds Cafe. It's from 6 to 9 p.m. It's in Valley Junction, and I think it's going to be an awesome show. Jeff, tell us a little bit about. We've talked a little bit about this CD, but I mean, tell me a little bit about the moment when you got the CD in your hand and you got to kind of take a look at the finished product. What was that like for you?
Oh, fantastic! I've made recorded CDs before with groups, but to get my debut CD was such a blessing, and it just gave me an opportunity to just to hold fast to God's word, where He says He's capable of doing immeasurably more than I can ask or imagine. So, after much waiting and all that kind of stuff, to see the FedEx guy pull up and unload 10 boxes full of CDs, it was very exciting.
Boy, that is cool, especially when they're bringing box after box. You're like, you could swim in your own music. It sounds like a lot.
That'd almost be intimidating.
I might drown in it or something.
So everything on the CD is was written by you, correct?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So did you have all those songs completed before you started the CD, or like were you writing tunes, especially knowing that you were going into the studio, or what was that like?
The songs actually had been written probably since about 2003. And not all in 2003, but some songs have been written as recently as like the last year. One of the songs we did was one that was written right before going into the studio. Matter of fact, it's the title cut called "Not Here for Me," and so there weren't any that were written in the studio. I've done that before. I love doing it that way, but it was something that had a little bit amount of time in Nashville, and wasn't able to do that.
We are talking with Jeff Arrandale. You can find more information about Jeff at jeffarrandale.com, and his CD release party is at the Green Grounds this Saturday from 6 to 9, and the CD is called Not Here For Me. Now, one of the things I didn't ask you about was, are you able to get this CD? Do you have it digitally available on iTunes or anything yet, or any plans for that?
Yeah, it's not digitally available right now. I think what the plan is, it's going to be, if it works out, it's going to be available on my website. Once again, like you said, jeffarrandale.com. And then the possibility that, it will be available on iTunes. So we're going to see how it goes at first with this first release, and then go from there.
Very, very cool. And I'll tell you this for those of you guys who do not know Jeff. Jeff, like I said, has been a gracious friend to the show. He's been in here multiple times, and is a very earnest songwriter. I mean, you can see his heart into the music as you're listening to it. And I'd say the CD does a very good job of reflecting that. And you do run that risk. I'll be honest with you, Jeff. One of the things that you run the risk of, especially like turning something. We've heard you in an acoustic environment. You've been in here when you've been in. You've performed for us every time, and just kind of you and a guitar, and sometimes you and the guys from the Two Mats band. And but it was still kind of an acoustic environment. And when you translate that to kind of full production, there is oftentimes the possibility of losing some of that intimacy and losing some of that heart that's associated with the music. And I actually think that the CD did a very good job of kind of translating what I saw as the vision of the tunes well into that bigger atmosphere. So I'd like to congratulate you on that. Sometimes that's a tough transition.
Yeah, well, thank you. The thing that amazed me, and I'll just give you a little bit of the experience of being in that studio. We showed up on a Saturday morning at 9 o'clock, and the musicians were arriving, and basically we sat and listened to a scratch track of the first song we were going to do. Had some what they call Nashville charts, which is basically a numbering system. They listened to it one time, and they said, all right, let's go do this. And it was just amazing. They started playing my song like they'd been playing it for a year or even years. And when the first song I think we recorded was Purify Me. and it was amazing. I just was so grateful to God for He orchestrated the whole thing and had it all planned, and but it was still just very awesome to see how He brought those people together. None of them Christian, at least as far as I was able to tell. But using those non-Christian people as His instruments to to glorify Him through the songs that He gave me. So yeah, it was cool.
And just to kind of catch folks up a little bit, what got you into music to begin with? This has been a kind of a different journey for you. You're a worship leader. And you've just this CD, like you said, you've recorded CDs before. This is your first like a solo CD coming out from Century Music Group. Like, what got you started in music?
Oh man, probably a little transistor radio, listening to top 40 music back in the 60s and the 70s. Just loved I didn't know at the time, but just the skill and the songwriting. People like Paul McCartney and James Taylor, and that turned into, hey, can I have a guitar, Dad? And got a guitar when I was about 10, and just never really had lessons. Just played with people that also had passion for music, and had an opportunity to lead at my church, at Fellowship Community Church, and use the talent that God gave me through music. And the music that I grew up with was like a lot of us. It was hymnals and a choir and a piano and an organ and a couple of blue-haired old ladies playing those. And no offense to those ladies, because they were very, very good at what they did, but it was very hard for me to relate to as a teenager or young person growing up. And then to hear the contemporary Christian music that started coming out in the early 90s was a huge influence on me, like Jars of Clay and Chris Tomlin, et cetera, et cetera. And it's like, hey, I think I can do that. I used to write songs when I was younger that wasn't Christian or glorifying to God, but when God got a hold of my heart again, He said, yeah, you can. So started writing some songs that we actually did in our church services, and it was like, hey, maybe we should record some of these, and God just kind of took it from there.
That's pretty cool. So when you did these songs, this is Dan, by the way. When you introduced these songs to church, did you tell people you wrote them, or did you say this is a new Chris Tomlin song, and then see if they really like it, and then say, okay, it was really me? Because that's what I would do.
I was tempted. It was kind of interesting too. A lot of times the feedback from the congregation was immediate. It was either they were moved, or they were clapping along, or it was the crickets. And one of the things that I really tried to do was make sure that around something scriptural, I think that made it easier for people to relate to them, because it was, and that's another way, a great way too, to just to learn God's word and to know His heart and things like that. And so to have people come up and say, hey, I was singing your song this last week, it was really good, and stuff like that, is just such a blessing.
That's cool. I mean, it's a risky thing. I mean, to share a song you've written is really an extension of yourself. It's a kind of a snapshot of your relationship between you and God, and kind of sharing that with the world. That's kind of a scary thing.
And it's tough too, because what if you're? I didn't think about it from that relationship aspect, but if your relationship with God isn't good, or like people could look at it and say it's shallow, or like you're crazy and you believe the crazy wrong thing, that could easily come out in a song that you've written.
Exactly.
Jesus says the quadruple God.
I can't promise that some of the early songs didn't come out that way. So I don't think so. If they did, they've quickly been forgotten and brushed underneath the put in the dustbin, so to speak. So,
have you written any songs about rattlesnakes?
Never have written a song about a rattlesnake.
Okay, we'll talk about that later then.
I don't think I can handle it.
I get it. I couldn't handle it.
All right. Sorry, foreshadowing. We're talking about snake handling coming up here in the next hour. Well, I tell you what, Jeff, so we've been talking with Jeff Arrandale. You can find more information about him at jeffarrandale.com. His CD, Not Here For Me, for more information about that, you can go to that jeffarrandale.com. But also, if you come out to a CD release party, and that is this Saturday at Green Grounds Cafe. It's from 6 to 9 o'clock in Valley Junction. Come out. It's free to get in. The food's good out there. The coffee's good, and it's a cool place to be. We're going to be out there, so I mean we've raised the level of the room already.
Exactly.
So
it's like a party.
I know, that's what I'm saying. We're bringing in the noise and the funk. Jeff, thank you so much for calling in. We appreciate it, and we will see you on Saturday.
All right, looking forward to it, guys. You guys have a great night.
All right, we will. Thanks,
We'll
Jeff.
see ya. Thanks, Jeff.
And so just to give you,
All right, bye-bye.
all right, see ya. Just to give you a little taste of Jeff's CD, we're going to play you just a bit of it. This song is called Certainty. This is off Jeff Arrandale's debut CD, Not Here For Me. This is Jeff Arrandale.
Invade my heart, invade my soul forever. All I know is I want to be in your will. You are for me and no one is greater. No, no, no. Trial after trial, you're with me still. And I know I am justified because my Lord was crucified. My body will be glorified, and it'll be for eternity. Yeah, it's God's great certainty. It's God's great certainty.
That is Jeff Arrandale. It's fresh release, Not Here For Me, from Century Music Group. It's flipping
You are
sweet.
my provider.
I'm not much of a radio. I can't do radio DJ work.
Yeah.
Let's bring it on the beats.
That's Jeff Arrandale coming to you live from KJJ9.
I'm like a music non-nerd, so I usually when we're interviewing like real live artists, I'm sitting there going, I was listening. Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, that's a good answer.
Sweet,
Yeah.
bro.
Six strings, eh?
So you can play that guitar, can you? Do you have one of them triangular picks? I mean,
Do you customize your own picks?
All right.
That's sweet.
Hey, you're listening to Live from the Path. All right, so let's get into this thing. Here we go. So we're walking through the 50 proofs from GodIsImaginary.com about how God is imaginary, and we're on proof number 4. The first two were on prayer, on the impossibility of prayer.
Yes.
Last week we talked about number 3, which is look at historical gods. Hey, that guy really mailed it in on that one. I was kind of disappointed on number 3.
he needs to try harder.
Yeah, I
If
mean,
he's going to disprove the living God of the universe.
Yeah.
you got to put a little more effort into
yeah,
it.
I mean, the basic function of proof number 3 was God is not real because other people believe in other gods in the past, and that's
And they're wrong.
yeah. I mean,
yeah, the
everybody.
other ones are wrong, so therefore
That's not
So
really.
everything's wrong.
That's anecdotal at best.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever. It's an argument, okay, but it certainly isn't a proof. So I was kind of disappointed at number 3. Let's check out number 4. Here we go. Proof number 4 from GodIsImaginary.com. Think about science. Notice what happens when anyone is miraculously cured. A person is sick, the person prays, or a prayer circle prays for the person, and the person is cured. A religious person looks at it and says, God performed a miracle because of prayer, and that is the end of it. A scientist looks at it in a very different way. A scientist looks at it and says, prayer had nothing to do with it. There's a natural cause for what we see here. If we understand the natural cause, then we can heal many more people suffering from the same condition. In other words, it is only by assuming that the belief in prayer is a superstition and therefore God is imaginary that science can proceed. And it provided a direct example of science at work, and it's basically the story of of finding penicillin. Said Fleming had so much going on in his lab that it was often in a jumble. This disorder proved very fortunate. In 1928, he was straightening up a pile of petri dishes where he had been growing bacteria, but which had been piled in the sink. He opened each one and examined it before tossing it into the cleaning solution, and one made him stop and say, "That's funny. There was some mold growing on the dishes." Anyway, the staph bacteria had been killed on the mold that was around the dishes. And it's basically the story of the discovery of penicillin. Okay?
Yeah.
He said, did Fleming or Floring say, as a religious person would, that the death of this bacteria is a miracle? God has reached down and killed it in response to our prayers. Of course not. Instead, they completely ignored God and understood that the belief in prayers is superstition. They determined what was actually happening through experimentation, and they made useful medicines from the mold. They took a rational approach rather than a religious approach, and we all benefit from penicillin and its many derivatives today. All of science works in this way. Only by assuming that God is imaginary and prayer is meaningless can science proceed. The reason why scientists must assume that God is imaginary in order for the scientific method to work is because God is imaginary. First reactions, fellas.
Well, he started off with that people who are healed, there has to be a scientific explanation for it, that it can't be prayer because science has to do something with it. And every time someone's healed, scientists look at it and say, hey, how did this happen? What happened? Let's figure out what happened and then use it to cure more people.
Uh-huh.
And there have been several cases where doctors just go, it's a miracle. Like with Dan's heart. With the shrinkage and whatnot of the dilation and stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah. They just went,
So,
I don't remember going quite that way, but it was close.
it was,
yeah.
well, so I guess here's a couple things for me that came out of this. First of all, the example is bad. It's just regardless of where you fall in this, it's a poor example.
Yeah.
Like the example is that the penicillin being discovered was an act wasn't based upon the prayers of others. It's not like he was praying for something to show up.
Yeah, there wasn't a prayer circle there saying, Lord, bid the petri dish do something.
Yeah, and so I mean,
It was a scientific experiment going on.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, a
Right.
lab.
It was a mistake.
It's not testing the validity of prayer. It's not saying somebody prayed for this and then here's what showed up, but it was science and not God. Like it was just a random example of coincidence or circumstance of which something happened.
Yeah.
Frankly, for me, it also presupposes that people have not been praying to cure or looking for penicillin, and God didn't use the means to do it. Now, I don't know that. That's not going to fall into the proof category, whether I believe it or not. That also on my end is not like a good example of a proof for God. However, the opposite is also not a good proof for God. It's also weird because like his first example was people pray, something happens, but like there's no counterexample in which people pray and or like people have prayed and then it's found that it was done in some other way. Mm-hmm. So like it was just a weird example. I feel like you probably could have come up with some stronger examples on the other side of that.
Yeah, his whole argument is based upon someone going through a natural process of healing. Like we prayed for someone to be healed of cancer, and then they went through radiation and chemo, and at the end of this long road of fighting it, they came out victorious. And we all say, yay, God answered prayer. Well, yeah, that might be one. But he's not answering, like example, you brought up my heart situation, where I went into a doctor and had tests, and they came back and said, this cannot be medically explained. It is impossible medically. What happened? There's no way there's no natural or scientific way to explain what happened.
Yeah.
So he doesn't even bring that up. How does he explain someone who legitimately has something physically change in their body where they didn't take medicine for it?
Right.
Where no medicine exists for it. He doesn't answer that.
No, and there's a certain amount of faith in that too, because when you basically what they would say is like, we just don't know that yet. Like there is definitely a scientific answer, we just can't prove it and don't know it.
Maybe there is mold on the piece of bread that I ate that's of a different variation than what was in the petri dish that made penicillin.
Like, the question would be, is there not like a pre-committed version of faith to say, I have no idea what this is, but I know that it can be explained. I just don't, like, time has not revealed it to me yet. The great God of time will eventually show us because science never fails. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, there is a faith there that says this process cannot break down. And the thing is that you can never, in that line of thinking, you will never find yourself believing that God has done something if you start from the basis that God is false. Because you will never come to a conclusion that God is real if you've started with the basis of God is false. And so, so instead of coming to the conclusion that say a miracle or something has happened here that science cannot explain, we just answer it and say science cannot explain it yet.
Right.
We have not come to it yet.
Right.
So for their God, in all essence, is time, is the passage of time that will ultimately reveal something that they cannot explain right now. And it's a belief that will never be vindicated to a certain extent, because time will pass, you will die, and you will not know whether it happens or not. Well, by that
Except
time,
at that point, you'll meet God.
something will have happened.
He'll say, "I got a clue for you."
Miracle stuff they were talking about.
Yeah, watch this.
Which is interesting because it sets up the scientific method as God, as the parameters in which we will work and which everything will be answering to. That's what they've done. And so, like, in general, science is not God. Science is it's not a belief system. It's just a way of examining the world. But in essence, they've turned it into a belief system that automatically excludes certain things because it doesn't match up with your belief system.
Yeah, spiritual does not exist. It's all natural.
Right.
It's all testable and scientifically explained. And what if it's not?
And it's weird, the parallels, and largely they won't recognize this, but like in the same way that they're it's not even fair to call it a worldview, but like that science will not disprove God to me, God will not disprove science to them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They will not permit God to disprove the thing that they've latched onto and believed on. And frankly, we're the same. We're very similar, me and these folks. We just I will agree to that. They probably won't.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's actually the circumstances. And it's also weird. He said this twice, and I don't even get it. It says only by assuming prayer is a superstition that science can proceed. And that's like blatantly untrue. Science can always proceed because it's an examination of the world. It's not like you have to throw out prayer to start examining something.
Yeah. It's like you can't do both.
Yeah.
You got to choose one, and that doesn't work, so therefore, obviously, God's not real.
Like, prayer is in the way?
Well, didn't the first two that we talked about, he's starting to say prayer's worthless? And now he's basing stuff on prayer?
No. I think what he's saying is like prayer just gets in the way. Like these guys have got down to the real brass tacks of figuring out what's going on, and you people in talk about prayer are just getting in the way of something. You know, you're just
You guys are silly.
We're not going to come to a real answer. Now, the thing is, and to be fair in this particular argument, is that you have completely ignored folks who have circumstances that Dan has had, and I mean, I'll vouch. Like there are folks that are like, God is healing people every day, and things are going on. I'm pretty skeptical about stuff like that. I know Dan falls in that category too, where you're just like, I think people see things that they want to see.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that God can't do that. In fact, I'm sure that God does. But I don't know that it's happening as often as certain people think it's happening. But I'm pretty skeptical of that because I'm like, I don't think God is doing some of the things that they say he's doing. But I'm not willing to put God in a box either and say that he won't.
Yeah. I'm kind of that way too. You don't want to like the sun rose. Oh, God did. It's like, well, he kind of set it up so sun it's going to pretty much rise.
Yeah.
And you can scientifically tell when it'll rise. They go together.
Yeah.
Pretty well. Yeah.
Right. Like it would be impossible for God to put certain things into motion and science not be able to say that it's happening because it has to happen. God is doing it. You know what I'm saying? If science is a validation of the world around you, of recognizing how things work, okay, science and the spiritual side are answering different questions. God is doing something and science saying, yeah, he's doing something. Right? They're just attributing to something else and they're not willing to say it's God. But like we can both agree that the sun is rising. They're going to say it's happened that way because of happenstance. I said that God did that. There's our difference, but like it's just an examination of to me it's an examination of what God has done and the laws of nature that he's put into place. And so it's just like, again, I was kind of disappointed in this way. Here's the deal: is the prayer thing for me has more relevance. Like the first two proofs in this thing had a little more relevance because I think it speaks to some of the things. Like if you're being honest of the things that you pray about, the question is why don't things happen? If I prayed for something, help me to understand God's character in which things happen and which things don't happen. I think that's a guy who doesn't believe in God and said, why doesn't God answer prayer, is the same legitimate question someone who does believe in God will have. Why isn't something happening that I'm praying about? And that's understanding God's character. It's understanding the nature of prayer. I didn't think about it this way, but I was listening to something earlier today, and it talked about prayer as it's either something that God will answer, or where he's directly interacting with the prayer, or he's frankly using prayer just to mold your heart. Like when he says, when you're supposed to, you're going to pray for your enemy. You know, it's just the practice of going to God and praying for the well-being of a person that you do not like or do not get along with or has wronged you is a molding of your heart, putting you in the position to treat people the way God wants you to. And sometimes prayer is simply that. Maybe it's not going to change that guy. Maybe there's nothing going to change in his life, but simply for you going through that time, spending with God, talking about that guy, it starts to mold you and shape you in a way that God wants you to be molded and shaped. And I just, I didn't think about that. I always think about, oh, well, he's just not going to do it yet, or circumstances are beyond my control, or the chessboard, I don't know what's going on. But, like, even that discussion is molding me into the person that God wants me to be.
Yeah.
So,
I'm with you.
Anything else, fellas?
Here.
Okay, there's some more side.
I was kind of disappointed in this one.
I know,
as well. I thought he was going to go a completely different direction than what he did.
This is number 4, right?
This is number 4.
Out of 50?
50.
That's right. So I hope he gives us more of a challenge because his logic that he is claiming is not being very logical. And I'm not a very logical guy. I'm kind of like, spastic and everything. And I can even look at it and go, your logic isn't logical.
Yeah.
That's pretty sad.
Well, and even, like, I'll bring it up again, because the first couple, he was trying to prove prayer is worthless. But then he brings it up again. Why are you getting prayer involved?
Well, I mean, I think he's used it in the same context, though. Like, I think he's been consistent that prayer is worthless in 1 and 2, and, like, it obviously is not a scientific example, or it cannot be demonstrated as accurate by science, and that's frankly because the position on science is that it doesn't exist, so it will never come to that conclusion.
Right.
Which was the same thing when he was talking about prayer. It's in the same position.
But that's the only, and he keeps going back to that.
He keeps rehashing it. Like he's
if
really got some beef with prayer.
If that's all he's got, defending all that, the rest of these 50 are going to be worthless.
Wait, I mean, the foundational is God is imaginary, right? So, like,
right.
If God is imaginary, of course, prayer is not real. Of course, he did not create the world. Of course, there are no guiding moral principles as can be attributed from the Bible. Of course, the Bible is not real or divinely inspired. Like, the basis of all this will fall back on, I believe God is real and he does not. However, like, the proof that's associated with it, like, I've seen some pretty sharp guys, like atheists, make a case for no God. Mm-hmm. I've seen it.
Right.
And like, intellectually compelling, spiritually dishonest, but whatever.
Right,
okay,
right. At least you can go, okay, that made sense.
Yeah, this is not it. I'm disappointed so far in this one.
Yeah.
And the last one.
I think that he prayed for someone, and what he prayed for did not happen, and he's upset about it.
Yeah,
he's angry at God.
God is not at my beck and call, and that didn't go how I thought it would.
I prayed for my friend Joe. Joe passed away, and therefore there's no God because my prayer didn't work.
Now I'm going to make 50 reasons why it's not. That's what that guy sounds like.
Although that's probably a good reminder and a good perspective, Dan, to the extent that someone has become disenfranchised simply by not understanding the character of God, and frankly, that is a disservice that I think oftentimes the church is responsible for.
Yeah.
You up through 16, 18, kids get the Noah, a little bit, only the good parts of David, no seedy parts, right? Yeah. And then you get Jesus loves you, and that's it, right? There is no gristle to anybody's understanding of the character of God. And then when they buck up into it, where their life has gone to a certain place, and then they run into the character of God, which they misunderstand. They think, well, Jesus loves me. If you love people, you give them what they want. You want them to be happy. And we've got like a very shaded view of God's character. And then when God does not act in the way that which we think he should act, it's God's fault, or he's not real, or that I was sold a bill of goods. Now, what's partially true is you probably were sold a bill of goods in which you do not understand the full character of God.
We're going to get the whole thing. I grew up in Sunday school doing the flannel board and all that stuff, and I remember as an adult really getting into the Bible. So, okay, I'm going to actually read these stories. And actually, it was later on, like I was preaching, thinking, I'm going to preach these stories because I remember them as a kid. I love the story of Samson. That's who doesn't love a good Samson story? He's a hero of the faith. And I think that's a series. It was my series. I called it Heroes of the Faith. And I actually read the story, and I'm like, wait a minute, this guy is a big horny toad.
Yeah.
And that got him in trouble. And every time he had his little horny toad thing going, he ended up getting in really big trouble. And that guy was a mess.
Yeah, he was.
God happened to use him.
He's quite the man, though.
Yes. For a while.
For a little
Hey,
bit.
did you save that Mexi stash you had?
No, I shaved it off.
That's boss.
I yesterday I had 4 people come up to me and told me it was gross, and in one day.
Well, that's enough.
And so I said,
That's a pretty good representation.
this is to come off.
It did. It looked like an armpit was growing on top of your lip. I'm sorry.
It was
you
the
want
worst.
some deodorant for that?
Like, I knew it looked bad, but like,
I just had no idea.
when 4 people came up to me, I was like, oh, no.
All right, so there was proof number 4. Think about science on GodIsImaginary.com. So next week, here's proof number 5. Here's what we're after. Proof number 5: read the Bible. I'm not sure where this is going. Oh,
you're gonna say it's inconsistent.
well, I actually just a cursory review of this. I don't think he's making the argument that it's inconsistent. He's arguing that it is sexist, that it is bigoted, and things of that nature. So, yeah, that seems like fun. That's next week. Let's tackle that one.
We'll tackle it.
I got it.
Give it a whirl.
Live on the path.
Slavery.
Live from the path.
All right, there you go. GodIsImaginary.com. Hey, you're listening to Live from the Path. We broadcast every Monday night from 10 to midnight here at livefromthepath.org. Keep an eye out Saturday. If you're sitting with the family and friends, you got nothing else to do. We are tentatively and hopefully broadcasting from the Jeff Arrandale CD release event from 6 to 9 at the Green Grounds Cafe.
So that truly is this Saturday, the 9th.
This Saturday.
Because I have it on a different date
That's terrible.
in my calendar.
What an
which
embarrassment.
I should change that because I would be really awkward.
God is imaginary if you show up on the 16th.
It all change it right
It hangs
now.
in the balance.
What time does that happen? Because I'm sure people aren't listening.
It's at 6 to 9. It's from 6 to 9.
6 to 9.
6 to 9.
Yeah, and you can catch it on livefromthepath.org. By the way, you can catch us during the week if you're just hunting around the net at livefromthepath.org. On the front page will be this week's show should be posted for the remainder of the week. There's also clips to our YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/livefromthepath. Clips from our artists and guests in studio, including Ryan Paul Buck, who was here last week. His stuff is up and ready to go. Go out and give that a listen.
He's a fun guy.
Yeah, he was a fun guy. And as a matter of fact, you can learn more about him at ryanpaulbuck.com, and you can pick up his new CD. Pants, have you listened to it yet?
I haven't yet.
You're such a toad. Ryan, he puts his effort into it. He loves the Lord, and you can't even go out there and take a listen.
I printed off pictures of him at Walgreens.
Okay, that's weird.
And I said,
my
hey,
locker.
I know that guy.
Wait a minute. You were developing film, and you actually happened to see him?
Yeah.
Boy, that is weird. Hey, that's also creepy. Quit looking at people's pictures.
I have to make... Okay, that's part of my job. I got to go look through the pictures to make sure they developed all right.
Wasn't that a movie with Robin Williams?
Yeah, it was a real
Snapshot or
creepo.
Yeah, but he, stalked the families that he...
You said that's Ryan Paul Buck, and then put the picture up in your bathroom.
Yeah.
Well, maybe so. So are we going to get some of his CDs, and are we going to become an outlet here?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great idea.
I love that idea.
Yeah.
I am pumped for
The
that
Johnston
idea.
Connection.
I think it's going to be awesome. You're going to be
I thought the connection shut down. Shut their doors.
I don't know.
All right.
I can't answer that.
Anyway, that's it. You're listening to Live from the Path. Pants, what do you got? You got anything over there?
I do.
You ready to go? All right.
Believe it or not, people wrote to us.
People are wrote. So here's the deal. People need some help.
That is true.
Dan, and they say, where can I go but those Live from the Path fellas? And I got to figure out what I'm supposed to do with my days.
Wisdom oozes from us.
That's what I'm saying.
And it's kind of awkward and embarrassing sometimes.
I got some good advice.
I had some ooze out on the top of my lip, had to shave it. People said it looked like an armpit.
Quite.
All right, Pants, what do the people want to know? we are here to enlighten. Pants!
We're live.
Come up.
It's live from the path.
It's like, here's the deal. Lucky it's late at night. Nobody listens to the show.
Yeah. So.
All right.
Okay, Pants, what do you got?
Got this. Dear Live from the Path, I am a 30-year-old woman in a long-distance relationship with an amazing man for more than a year. We visit each other every few months and chat online every night. We're in love, and we feel we're ready to move forward to the next step, living together. We live in different countries. He is much more established in his country and very close to his family. I am in a temporary job, and while I care for my family very much, there really isn't anything to tie me here. It makes more sense to me to move than him. It's a 5-hour plane ride from here. My family, especially my parents, are making me feel extremely guilty about even considering this move. They say I'm abandoning them, and ask how I could live with myself if something ever happened. Abby, my parents are in their early 50s and in excellent health. My 2 sisters live near them. I fail to see why I am getting so much grief when I just want to move on to the next stage of my life. Any advice? Pulled in 2 directions.
Oh, boy.
Well, pulled in 2 directions. First of all, I'd like to say to you, unless you're a harlot, and maybe you are because you're considering this, you don't move into anyone without a commitment of marriage.
Maybe we're considering the next step of moving in together.
That's not a step. That's harlot. That's prostitution. That's not even prostitution. You're giving it for free. So here's my advice to what's her name? Pulled together, pulled apart,
Pulled apart. Two directions. Let's call her.
Pulled in
I
2
wrote down
directions.
I'm gonna call her Tutu.
Okay, Tutu. Here we go. Pulled Tutu. Number 1, decide if this is a permanent relationship. Sounds like it could be. That's great. That's awesome. Get married. Plan the wedding. Make the wedding happen. And then move. There's no reason for you to stay at home. I have a daughter in the same situation. It's like, hey, sometimes it's time to fly. If it's time to fly, do it. If not, well, make sure it's the right time. But first of all, get married.
Now, so my guess is that she's not shading the story correctly. To the extent that you meet someone online, different country, 5-hour flight, and your next move is to move in together. Couple of things I'm assuming, right? First one is that the parents' family have not met this man, right? So
Quite possible.
So their first reaction probably isn't a good one for
Have a
you
group
saying,
Skype?
I'm going to move away.
Yeah.
So I mean, she's portraying it as if they are just trying to make her feel guilty for abandoning them. My guess is that they're probably upset by her choice, concerned that she will be hurting herself in her future by doing this. They do not know. If I'm a dad and I do not know the man of which my daughter is trying to spend her days
he
with,
better come talk to me.
Exactly. And I would appreciate the guy that asks my permission.
Yeah.
I'm really hoping that sticks around.
Yeah.
And frankly, I'm going to hope that my daughters are discerning enough that a man that does not do that, is not willing to come do that, is probably not marriage material. Who knows? The kids don't listen to me. But my guess is that she's shading it incorrectly. Like that they are probably reasonably concerned that she is going to move away to a man that they do not know, do not trust. And if I'm a dad, I'm concerned that my daughter is going to marry somebody or go live with him, even caps.
Casual sex.
Yeah.
In another country.
Yeah.
Where you could be buried in the sand.
Yeah. So I think that's a legitimate concern. Beyond that, however, they need to grow up. Like if it's they're concerned that she's going to move away. If she was marrying another man, marrying a guy and spending her life, and it took moving there to do it, they just need to learn to deal with that. I don't. You shouldn't be guilting people about moving on with their days. They don't live in your house. You are no longer responsible for them. You had your shot to influence her life. I think that's what they should do.
I think move away as quickly as possible because her parents named her
Tutu?
Pulled in 2 directions. That's a horrible name.
That's a lot of middle names.
Boy,
It's only 2.
So it's obviously a mistake to move.
In 2.
Pulled into direction. Yeah, direction.
Hey, the Tutu was my nickname. Let's just use it.
Okay. We're trying to figure out how many middle names she has.
Okay. So the prevailing advice is, first of all, you need to don't move. But this
not without commitment of marriage.
This doesn't have anything to do with your parents. This has to do with you making a good decision for the rest of your days.
Yeah.
Like people are just different than how they act online. I'm sorry, but they just are different. I don't care how often you talk.
They get together once in a while, right?
Yeah, but like, are you once every 3 months? Is
you
that
can
enough?
Fake it. You can fake it pretty good.
Yeah. People are creepy for a long time. I mean, there's people that dated for 3 years and you still end up with a creepo. You know what I'm saying?
How long did you date Amanda?
I might have been 3 years. Yeah.
I just wonder where you came up with that number.
But that doesn't there are some times where you can put all the effort and still get hosed. But it's just not enough. It's not enough to say I'm willing to give up the closest to my family and whatever my situation is to go to a man that I do not know very well, regardless of whether you think you do. And my guess is if they started internet dating, not that it's not a legitimate way to meet people, but if you're in 2 different countries, you're probably looking for something and you found what you were looking for. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're looking for love, you're going to be more prone to find it, and you're going to find it fast because you want it.
Yeah. And like you say, I mean, guys, we're pretty well known for letting people, for saying what people want to hear, especially if it's a woman and we're in pursuit. And so he can be anybody he wants her to think he is, you know. But let's just put that aside, and you know, if he's marriage material and it's a genuine relationship, get married first, and then plan your life together. Wherever it's going to lead you, it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. Wherever my children go, I'd like them to stay in the neighborhood. That'd be really cool, and have a little tunnel between our homes. But you know what? They
might find that a hair creepy.
They're a little creepy.
That's a little creepy.
Although,
but they might.
Hey guys,
who
got
knows?
some butter?
actually, you know what? I was thinking about this within the last month or so. Is about how I'd and I really think this would freak my kids out. But I'd love to have like a big, 20 acres or whatever.
That'd
my
be
kids
fun.
can have like a house elsewhere.
It worked for the Jews for centuries.
That's what I'm saying, and it's because I don't know if it's societally people feel like they've not grown up if they're that close to their parents, or whether societally we're poor parents and people don't want to hang around. I think some of that's true. I think sometimes people are going out and they're just experiencing a world that is different than what they grew up in to get in to see what their life should look like or they want it to look like. But man, that would just be awesome. I'd love to be close to my kids and be close to my grandkids, and give them their space, but be able to have that closeness. But I think sometimes parenting drives people away, and other times you got to see what your life might look like. The reason I was thinking about it is in the context of like family farms. It's like I bet they're having. I don't know anything about farming. Okay, I'm going to put that up front. Yeah. But like my assumption is like they have trouble passing it on. Like guys that have been farming for years, I would assume that they're probably having trouble finding children that want to take on it. Farming's it's a rough life. There's a lot. It's tons of work and
a lot of risk.
Yeah, and there's nothing that says farming about like your public school system or whatever. So like your life is kind of directed towards something else. And so
that depends on what public school you go to.
Puerto Rico, then that's where I'm going. I'm going to Puerto Rico.
Yeah. That's what
awesome.
The Hebrew culture, they just kind of built a shack on the side of the house. They just kept getting bigger and bigger, and
tacking them on.
Yeah,
like the Winchester mansion. You guys heard of that? It's in Arizona. Quick, right? It's a descendant of the people that developed the Winchester rifle. She basically thought the ghosts of people that were shot with the Winchester rifle were after her, and the only way to confuse them from like coming after her were to keep building rooms on and on and on. So this Winchester
I have seen.
So like there were like stairwells going up to nowhere, rooms that went around. There were rooms that you could not get into. They were built, and like the whole house has been like remodeled 100 times because she would build a room and then tear it up and rebuild it and tear it up. And there's like a carpenter who like worked for her for 60 years, and that was his main gig, just tearing rooms and then starting them over. He got them done, and then she said, "Tear it up, put more stairs in there." It was wild.
Wow, that's interesting. Was there a diagnosis with that?
No, she just thought she was haunted.
Okay,
Yeah.
Too much gunpowder.
I think she just died haunted.
Yeah.
So what does secular say on this?
Yeah. The secular advice. Go ahead.
Secular's advice on this: your parents are anxious because even at 30, you are still their child, and they're experiencing separation anxiety. However, at your age, you should be mature enough to decide your future. I do have a word of advice I hope you'll consider. Before you can commit to leaving the United States to join your boyfriend, please do some research on the rights of women in this country. Here in the U.S., we enjoy many privileges that are not shared by women outside our borders.
Did he mention that she mentioned he's from Pakistan?
I'm going to say, this one she really didn't. Yeah, just they concern marriage, divorce, division of property, and child custody. It's important that if you choose to marry him, let's see.
I like it that I don't have to worry about that
If you choose
stuff.
to marry him, you do it with your eyes wide open. That way, there will be no surprises.
Yeah. So wait, if you choose to marry him, you do it with your eyes wide open in contemplation of divorce before you marry him? We've got this thing backwards, man. We've just got it straight up backwards.
Well, and by the way, if you marry him, it's permanent.
Yeah.
Hey.
So says God. So there.
We're secular.
There's our
here.
advice.
We don't believe that in secular, Bill.
Yeah, but that's our advice.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a good thing she wrote to Life from the Past and not to somebody else. That's all I can say.
All right. What else you got, Pants?
Let's see. What do we have?
I think we're great counselors. People should pay us for this. I think our new sponsor, Golden Bear Lemonade.
This lemonade is delicious.
It is pretty good.
And I've tried the honey and the strawberry flavor, and I like it. I like them both.
They're pretty good.
Yeah. I'm pretty excited about that.
The only place to get them is Walgreens. Buy them now.
Are they gonna go somewhere?
No.
Pants, you can't be distracted. You're supposed to be working on stuff.
Yeah, we're
Right.
covering for
Pay
you.
attention.
It's just a good
That's
time to
the one we
mention
just
that J.C. Penney's in their next
I
month's
saw
catalog
that. I saw that.
is going to have a gay couple with raising their
Does that sell stuff?
two guys. raising
I don't
their two
recognize
children.
myself in advertisements and go, you know what? I'm going to shop there because guys like me shop there. Maybe I'm just not influenced by that.
The reason they did that is because the Women for America or some group like that got all up in arms when they had Ellen DeGeneres as their spokeswoman or cover model or whatever, and they're like, okay, we won't do her anymore. We're gonna switch to these guys.
My finest quality shirts come from J.C. Penney's. I don't know where I'll go shopping now. I can't only support that.
The Old Navy.
They gotta be tall.
What? It's just.
I just won't do it. Not that they're gonna put it in your face.
Chats too. The Green Lantern. I did read that this week. That the Green Lantern is being relaunched as a gay man in like a second world.
Really?
I don't care.
It's everywhere.
I don't care. Whatever. No. Here's the deal. It's a reflection of where people are at. That's bad. Like I'm obviously not in support, right? But I mean, surprise would be a little bit disingenuous, would it not?
Here's this. While we're on this subject, did you see the thing about the kids at this one church and they sang a song, a little ditty called "Ain't No Homo Getting to Heaven" or something like that? Oh no! And like it's a bunch of old people that are sitting in a room and some like 4-year-olds. They're like 4 or 3. They're singing and they're like, "Ain't no homo," and then all the adults they're like, "Yeah, yeah," just cheering them on. It kind of upset me.
That's kind of sad.
I would say it mega upset me. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's patently stupid.
Dumb.
Oh man, my list of people that I would club in the head if Jesus didn't forbid it is growing by the minute. Seriously, they're teaching.
Like it looks bad.
It's just as unbiblical. I'm sorry. It just is.
You're right.
It's bigoted and it's hate. You know, like you're teaching your kids to like.
Let's celebrate the eternal destruction of a person.
Right. That's what you're saying. Like, oh man, it's as bad or frankly worse because they know enough to know better, and they have a worldview that should bring them to the right spot.
The YouTube link is on our chat there.
Oh man,
that's awesome.
We want more advice.
Yeah, Pants, let's get a move
please,
over there,
turn
man.
the corner.
Hit a rough tangent.
Dear Life from the Path,
angry.
I'm divorced with a young son. My ex-husband and I share joint custody, and for the most part, it has been working well. My problem is my ex-husband is very bitter about our divorce, and the fact I have moved on with my life he's not fond of. He consistently makes derogatory comments to me in front of our son and others. It is bad enough that my son must witness this, but my ex also took this step further. He is the editor of a small newspaper.
Oh man!
and is now making
Disparaging.
Thank you. It is now making disparaging comments about me in his column. He is trying to improve his image at my expense. However, I am unable to respond because he won't print a rebuttal.
No doubt.
On his paper.
Our editorial board has decided not to
The
print
abuse
this.
continues despite the divorce, but now the audience is wiser. Is this ethical journalism? And how can I put it? How can I put a stop to it?
All right. I'm sorry.
Frustrated ex.
I really shouldn't laugh at that, but
Okay, let's go to ground one.
Okay.
Don't get divorced. And this didn't happen. Okay, but it happened, so now we got to move forward. They're dealing with a situation where in marriage you become one flesh, and just because a man has decided that you're no longer one flesh, God it's still one flesh. And so it's like when you glue two boards together and clamp them together and they get real tight, they become one board. You don't just separate the boards and they go on. I mean, it splinters and rips and tears, and this family has been ripped and torn, and that causes a lot of pain and a lot of stuff. The man is not handling it well. Not that I would either, but he's not handling it like a man. He needs to man up for his child's sake and just shut up. How can she do that? I don't know. Another legal defamation.
Well,
I mean,
whatever. It's which is the written one? Slander, libel, slander, whatever. So like, I mean, if it's not
a different paper,
if it's not true, well, I think she
for some rebuttal.
I'll show you. I'm going
Actually,
to cancel the subscription.
That's salacious. I like that, Pants. I like that. That's the way to go about it.
Yeah, if you don't read it, you don't know.
Yeah.
No. So let me ask you. That's a good point. So given those circumstances, let's say someone was defaming you publicly, and let's say it's vague enough or true enough that you can't sue. Okay.
It's a small town paper. Go to the big town.
What are you gonna move?
No, just.
I guess that's
take a
part
trolley.
Exchange papers?
Oh, no,
Take a trolley.
So here's what I'm asking.
And say,
like,
this is what's going on. Publish this in your paper.
Here's what I'm asking. From a personal perspective, do you think that you could avoid looking at that? Like, understanding that's damaging your life, right? It's causing you grief and trouble, and like ultimately, people are going to be whispering about it. Mm-hmm. So, but
I would move.
Do you? Well, you got the kid. Huh? You're gonna take the.
I guess that's his loss. He's the one who was being immature. I'm taking the child.
That's enough for you to head out.
If it makes it difficult to,
I feel like people would stop buying papers.
Stop. Oh yeah.
I don't know anybody who buys paper anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
There's not that much.
That's our advice, ma'am. No one buys papers.
Are you serious?
The internet exists.
This whole thing is false and ridiculous.
He'll be homeless soon anyway.
So reasonable advice. Yeah, maybe it is the. I wonder if she can't go.
I mean, she can't make him stop.
No.
I mean, I would assume intelligent people would go, "This is ridiculous. Why am I paying for this?" And
Yeah, that's
contact sponsors.
I was gonna say at some point maybe it's not interesting, but like our reality TV landscape would imply that it is interesting. That people will hang out and probably keep watching.
Yeah.
And keep reading.
All the little busybody of blue hairs. Oh, did you see what they said about Margaret? Yeah. I wonder if that's true. I can tell from my telescope.
Yeah, I don't know.
Knees.
You would think if it's her, obviously she knows that, and I'm going to assume people that know her are reading this, but why is she worried about it if she knows the truth?
It probably is true.
Why wouldn't they talk to her and say,
I mean, if it's embarrassing,
why
move to the town down the road.
Having a problem with this?
Yeah. I think you got to get yourself out of the situation. I don't think you have a choice. You're already. I mean, you're already divorced. I mean, what are you holding on for?
Yeah. I mean, if it's a job thing, you don't have to move very far, but move to a different town
and then try to pull yourself out of it.
Yeah.
All right.
That's what I do.
The question is that
I agree
ethical
with you.
journalism is kind of
don't get divorced.
Kind of stupid though. I mean, I don't know on what planet that would be considered ethical journalism because it's not journalism; it's an opinion piece.
That's the beauty of a small town newspaper. You do it as you please.
We should open a small town newspaper. We could do a.
I used to write a weekly column for one.
Yeah.
In Atlantic. That's where all of my 2 books came from. The weekly columns.
You sly boots! You didn't even rewrite those books.
Absolutely not.
You just took the columns and published them.
Yep.
I like your style.
People bought them. I made pretty good money on it.
All right.
I had to buy it. See? That was before I knew you were just
just a jerk.
All right.
You can't even read.
What's the secular advice?
Secular advice on this: using a newspaper column to continue a personal vendetta over a failed marriage is not ethical journalism.
No.
Although it may make for a titillation reading.
Yeah.
You do not have to tolerate his public.
This is internet
snipping.
radio. We can say that word, right?
I think so.
Okay, go ahead.
That's how it's written.
Whatever.
Could you use the word breast?
Chicken. Don't mistake. We're not going to make it past the YouTube censor with this language. Go ahead, Pants.
You do not have to tolerate this public You do not have to tolerate this public sniping. Take the offensive clips to your lawyer and ask him or her to write a strong letter strong letter to the publisher of the newspaper, because that's who will be liable if the grounds are for loss.
And probably it's some larger corporation that owns most of these are big corporations that owns just tons of small local papers, and they could probably go up above his head. That's true.
Yep. All right.
That's beautiful.
Pants, you got any more?
Yep.
One more.
Got another one.
Here we go. People need help. We're clearing out the bleachers tonight. Go ahead, Pants.
Dear Life from the Path, my husband and I attended a wedding in September of last year. We purchased an expensive crystal for the bride and groom, which cost us nearly $600. This was separate from the bridal shower gift we gave them in May. We have not received thank you notes for either of these gifts. My husband told me
I saw it coming.
that you have said that it's appropriate to send thank you notes up to 1 year after the wedding. My mother taught me to send them as quickly as possible. My sister had her wedding thank you notes out in 3 weeks. I had mine out in 2 weeks. My sister and I both worked hard and were setting up new households with our husbands, but we felt it was a priority. We wanted to ensure that our family and friends knew how much we appreciated their thoughtfulness. Can you please clarify thank you note etiquette? I am tired of wondering if my gifts were received and appreciated. Disgusted in Delaware.
Oh, you know what? If someone gave me that crystal and I hadn't got to my thank you notes yet, and I knew they were thinking that, I'd have sent the flipping thing back. I'd have said, you know what? I don't care. Go away. You're an irritant to me.
What am I going to do with a $600 crystal?
Yeah. Except for get it out when you come over. Oh, we put candy. We put candy in your special crystal bowl.
Listen to the noise it makes. Ding. Okay, here's the deal. It is responsible and mature and appropriate to send thank you cards pretty quick. That's the etiquette. I mean, can you wait? I suppose, but it's insensitive. Go ahead and send it. It's idiotic for someone to get all their panties in a wad because someone didn't send them a thank you card. Get over it. If you gave it to them, who cares? You gave it. You released it the moment you put their name on the card and set it on the table and walked away.
I'm going to assume if you're giving them a very expensive gift like that, it's somebody that you appreciate. And you can consider them a very close friend.
That's a pretty...
At the lowest.
Or...
That you feel, you know what, they'll like this. I'm not doing it to get a thank you card.
No.
I'm doing it to make you happy.
I think it's one of two things. It's either that or a person who expressly gives some kind of what they think is some kind of fantastic gift simply to be recognized as a person that gives expensive gifts. Yeah. That sounds like this woman to me.
I gave that to you, right?
I buy expensive, impractical crystal.
So you tell me give to people at weddings? Because I have to go to one on Sunday.
Get him a Dyson.
I have no idea what to get to him.
Plastic bottle. It's reusable.
Yeah, they'll have it forever. Just like your marriage, Thompson family.
It's forever. Unlike this shattering crystal.
Even if it gets thrown out in the landfill, it stays fully intact for years. Yeah, I don't. But part of this still comes from the basic thought that whatever people's actions are always done on purpose and intentionally, right? Like they intentionally have taken your gift and refused to send you some sort of thank you card. It's indicative of their personalities. Ungrateful people who do not recognize how awesome of a gift I have given. Like that's the point of view. Is you don't assume that it slipped their mind or that they sent them out and they sent it to the wrong address, spelled the name wrong, simply forgot. Something else has occurred in their life, whatever. The assumption is they are sitting in their house. They could be writing a thank you note, but they are not.
Instead, they're polishing
because
the crystal.
Yeah. They probably sold it on eBay for $300.
Exactly. I don't know if they're a relationship has to be that formal. It's not a real relationship. It's we had a little party for our daughter Danielle. And we okay, do we send out invitations? We're just having a get together. We're not having a big deal. So we threw a thing on Facebook, and I even thought to myself, I've known people in the past who won't come if they don't get a card and a personal invitation. Yeah. It's well, if you're that formal, we don't want you there anyway.
Yeah,
we're just having pulled pork burgers and brownies. I mean, we're just hanging out in a park.
Yeah.
You know, we're not having a big thing. And same with a wedding. If people are that cranky about stuff, just don't get me anything. I mean,
I'd rather not have it.
Yeah, if it's there's strings attached, give me the gift. That's all I want.
Yeah.
If you're gonna give me a gift, may it be from you, not with a string attached.
Yeah.
When I give gifts, I could give a rip if someone gives. I mean, because if they're gonna send it, they have to throw it away.
Yeah.
And they had to mail it, and they had to buy a card. They had to go, thank you for the gift of socks.
Yeah, I
you
get
know?
that, yeah.
Yeah.
The whole thing's a burden to me. I'd rather just give it and then be done. I don't want to hear about it.
Yeah.
I don't.
Check, I'm done.
Don't take
Give you-
picture of you using it. I don't care.
Yeah. Don't pull it out when I come over because I won't even remember.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's
That's that one thing.
Yeah, that's cool. You know, everyone loves a whoopee cushion.
Sweet, man. Where'd you get that?
I figured you used that can of beans by now, but wow.
Well, kidneys are important.
The fact you kept it, that means so much to me.
All right, I'm interested in the secular advice, Pants.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Secular advice.
And then we're getting to snake handlers. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah.
I've said in the past that a thank you note anytime is better than none at all. However, good manners dictate that thank you note should follow within 3 months at the latest, preferably within 1 month, regardless of whether the giver has been thanked verbally or not. Thank you, secular.
Okay, fine. They're guilty of lack of quick return. Now what? My life is over. Our kids will never marry.
I'd bind the postal service.
Oh man, that disappoints me. Seriously, fight over something else.
Yep.
Sorry. We've been giving out advice. I'm reconciling the end of that. This is Jeff Arrandale. In case you missed him earlier, we were speaking with Jeff Arrandale. You can find out more information about him at jeffarrandale.com. He's also got quite a few clips out on our YouTube. In this one, I really like. He did this one for us in the studio. It was very, very good. This is called Race. And if you go to youtube.com/Life in the Path and do a search for Jeff Arrandale, you can find this song and others by Jeff. His CD release party is going to be Saturday from 6 to 9 at Green Grounds. Hey, hit that Green Grounds, all right? Green Grounds, they're getting Christian acts in there. And I'll be honest with you, I know they struggle with people that are trying to book Jesus folk in places because people don't show up. They're like, there's no place to see Jesus folk. And then they find a place who's willing to do it, and they put people in there, and then people don't show.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, like, don't ask for it and then not show up for it. It's not cool.
Well, where's it at, Ben?
The Green Grounds is in Valley Junction.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Pants, you're the best side man in the business.
I didn't know where Green Grounds was.
Hey, Ben, where's that at?
Where can we find that?
I heard you say Green Grounds.
How do I get there?
I don't know where that is.
And they have a nice venue there, really.
Yeah.
It's you know, Adam Keats did a great job when we saw that. There is room for more people.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
It's
Now,
pretty cool.
They don't. Now, I'll tell you this. Like, I wouldn't depend on the venue to, like, drag folks in. It's a Saturday night. Like, everything else around there except for the bars are getting dead, and the shows are happening like at 6 to 9, so right around the dinner time area. So it's not like there's a lot of people in there. So you do have to invite them and drag them along with you. So get some folks out there for Jeff. He's a good guy. He's been real gracious to the show, and we need to celebrate his work. His CD's very good, and he's put a lot of effort into there, and God's blessed him with some stuff. So let's get out and celebrate him.
They're also green there.
Oh, they are. They sell a lot of natural oils. My wife loves it in there.
Huh. So this is like his official like CD release like party.
Yeah.
So what do you even know? I don't even know. What do you do at a release party?
Do you bring gifts? Crap, fellas.
We gotta get
Dang
Crystal.
He better give me a thing.
Okay, dear live from the path. I'm going to a CD release party, and I don't know whether it's a formal shindig. Do you supposed to bring something?
Do I
we wear
bring
a tux?
brownies? Oh wait, there will be food there.
There'll be
Can't
food
bring
there.
brownies.
Yeah,
There's even a sign on the door that says "Don't bring food."
Yeah,
in here."
I'm pretty sure they frown upon bringing your own stuff. It's a restaurant area.
I think I should rent a tux
I'm gonna bring my suit.
where there'll be a red carpet. We should pull up in limos.
It's
We
not-
should bring a red carpet.
Okay, I got two things. We don't have a limo.
Shucks.
RV.
I got some real dingy red carpet. I feel like it won't cast the vibe that we're looking for. I could be wrong.
Velvet ropes.
I didn't even. Hey, that's a good point, Father Tattoo. I don't know what he charges for the CD. I got mine free and then lost it. I'm in so much trouble.
Oh man.
Jeff Arrandale, he's good people. All right. So here's the deal. So I was reading in the news this week because they don't pay me to do that, but it happens. Death of a snake handling preacher shines light on lethal Appalachian tradition. Here we go. special to CNN on June 1st, Mac Wolford, one of the most famous Pentecostal serpent handlers in Appalachia, was laid to rest Saturday at a low-key service at his West Virginia church a week after succumbing to a snake bite that made headlines across the nation. Several dozen family, friends, and members of Wolford's House of the Lord Jesus Church in tiny Matoka filled the simple hall for the service, which lasted slightly more than an hour. At the request of pastor's widow, Fran Wolford, media were forbidden inside the building. Wolford's own dad was a serpent handler who died from a snake bite in 1983. Mac Wolford, who was 44, was bitten by his yellow timber rattlesnake in an evangelistic event in a state park about 80 miles west of Bluefield in West Virginia's isolated southern tip. He enjoyed handling snakes during worship services, but it's a tradition that has killed about 100 practitioners since it started in the East Tennessee hills in 1909. So, my first reaction to snake handling is generally some sort of joke, a laughing, a bit of a mockery. But, I mean, I was interested in the foundation of this thing, right? Because it's the same thing as I don't understand this, but this Mormon baptism thing has changed my life, right? Remember we were talking about the Mormon baptism, the post-death where they're like grabbing bodies and dunking them, and I thought that's, you know what, I totally disagree with that. That's doing anything, but if you really thought that would help, that's a way to go about it. If I can think this could positively affect their afterlife, I'm going to do it. And I thought there's some guys that are committed to something. They're committed to the wrong thing, but they're committed to something. That's something to talk about. And so I think about these. Snake handlers, and I think to myself, how did you get here? How do you get to the point handling snakes? And so here's what we got. Practitioners of snake handling believe serpent handling dates to antiquity, and they quote the book of Mark and the book of Luke to support the practice. Here it is, Mark 16, 17, 18 says, "And these signs shall follow them that believe. In my name shall they cast out devils. They shall speak with new tongues. They shall take up serpents. And if they drink any deadly thing, it shall not hurt them. They shall lay hands on the sick, and they shall recover." And then Luke 10:19 is, "Behold, I give unto you power to tread on serpents and scorpions, and over all the power of the enemy, and nothing shall by any means hurt you." So, the question is, Dan, looking at this scripture, does this immediately lead you to think, let's handle snakes?
No. Like the Luke text is a text specifically Jesus is sending specific individuals out for a specific task. It wasn't like, and all believers from here forward, here's how it's going to work.
Yeah.
You know, it was like, okay, here's your assignment. I'm going to send you out, and you're going to come back. I'm discipling you. We're going to debrief. We'll talk about it. Don't worry. While you go, you're protected. Whatever happens, you're protected. They also kind of tend to the Mark 16 text. Some people believe probably. I mean, this was not in the earlier texts that are found in the book of Mark.
It's a disputed text in Mark.
It's a disputed text.
Uh-huh.
So, like the ones closest to the source, the last several verses aren't even in there. It was like a few hundred years later, all of a sudden they started showing up. So some people like, well, there's usually most Bibles have a little footnote. By the way, you know,
we're not sure
this might not be real Bible, but it's kind of Bible. But you know, so it's kind of like, what do you do with that? Some people think that maybe they're referring to what the Apostle Paul did in Acts 28. After the shipwreck, he's on an island. They light a fire. He throws some wood in. The fire is hot. A snake comes out and bites him. Everybody's like, "Oh no, he's going to die," and he doesn't. He's healed.
Right.
God heals him. And although the atheist, what does he do with that? Anyway, and so some think maybe it's like
when time passes, we'll figure out what happened.
Yes, exactly. Some think maybe that's kind of a commentary on, hey, this is how God kind of works with his messengers.
Yep.
So I don't. There is not a scripture that really gives the idea that you're to go out and test God and go around and prove people. You know, that's just like saying I'm going to jump off a building every 3 days and God's promise He's going to protect me because I'm a Jesus person.
Yeah.
Well, not really.
Yeah.
I mean, He's going to protect you. Yeah, He's going to watch over you. Yeah, but He doesn't protect you from being stupid.
Yeah, I mean, it would be the same thing as if we stay in the Mark 16:17, in my name shall they cast out devils. It's like saying, let's open ourselves up to demons so that they can be cast out. You know what I'm saying? It's like the same basic principle as like, here's something I've given you for protection and to positively influence things going on around you. And what you're saying is open myself to a circumstance in which the negative thing happens so that the positive thing can be demonstrated, which is very akin to, you know, should we continue to in our sins so that grace can abound, By no means. Like, it's the same type of principle. Do you continue to do the wrong thing so that good things may shine? No. You try to do the right thing, and then
Right.
God can, is provided ways for protection, redemption within the wrong thing if you're doing it. But like, I don't understand the egging it on. I don't get it.
I mean, I think I'm hoping in their hearts they're trying to bring glory to God through this. Look what God can do. But honestly, it's look what I'm doing. Look how strong my faith is. The more faith I have, the more I'm not going to die. And so we're going to handle the snakes and go, woo, do the thing. And so then when someone does die, they had a moment of lack of faith is kind of, I think, I'm assuming, what they're thinking. And it wasn't a lack of faith. God can do whatever he wants. And sometimes he says, this snake's going to go ahead and bite you. I mean,
it's just going to happen.
I hope you have life insurance.
Well, actually, that was one of the things I found weird, and I tried to find an answer to this because I don't want to take that my immediate reaction is because I don't believe in that, or I think it's completely unnecessary and frankly a bit of an abuse of God's word. My instant reaction would be like when you get, because a lot of these guys have been bitten multiple times, and I mean, wouldn't that mean God fails you? Like, they say it's a lack of faith, but if God made a promise, it's not your faith that keeps it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, like, my reaction would be is if God says, these serpents will not get you, and then they get me, it's not because I didn't believe in God, it's because God told a lie. Because, like, my faith doesn't sustain anything. If otherwise I'm validating the rest of Scripture, like, it's not me that's keeping this.
Yeah.
And so my immediate reaction would be either God tells an untruth or is inconsistent about what will happen. When he says I'm protected, I'm not protected. Like, so there's either I'm believing the wrong thing or God does not tell me the truth. Since God always tells the truth, I'm believing the wrong thing. And I don't know how that doesn't, you don't say, well, I should give this up.
So I think Christians are famous for claiming promises that aren't promises for us.
Yeah.
There's entire volumes of books written on God's promise book, and it's and they're like, well, if you read the text and you put it in context, God made that specific promise to that specific person. It doesn't mean every single person who reads that, God promised me that too. I'm going to have all the land that I can see. It's like, no, that was really to Abraham and his people.
Yeah.
But often
I should be Jabez.
Expand my territory. I mean, it's taking Scripture out of context and misapplying it. Often. Now, there are some promises that are for everybody, that are for all believers, all people of God, but you've got to study it and look into the Word. We're this marshmallow culture of Christians that we just kind of read stuff and we take what we like out of it. I don't know if that's what they are, but that's a lot of our culture is that way in the church, and you have to be careful with that. Yeah, contextual hermeneutics is exactly a father tattoo.
Some of that has come through unprincipled Bible study. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not taking in the Word to see what the Word says. I'm going to find the thing. I remember that. That was the problem I had with that pink Bible, that breast cancer Bible. Mm-hmm. And like, I remember those, the one guys from the Dive were in here, and we got a bit of a tiff about that one. But like, the whole point of highlighting certain things that can encourage people, I totally get it, using the Bible to do that. But like, to present like someone's reference point as having, here's the certain things that you should read. Like, you start skipping stuff. You start not reading things and recognizing something that also might apply to your life. But you're looking for the one thing. And sometimes that straight Bible reading, looking for things that you didn't even know about. It's one of the things. So we were talking recently about doing a sermon series called One Hit Wonders of the Bible. And like, so people that are biblical books that are just one chapter long. So it's Jude, 2nd and 3rd John, Obadiah.
Philemon.
Yeah, Philemon. So like, I'm going to do Obadiah. And I was really excited about that because it's just, I'm not going to Obadiah for anything for me. I'm just going to read it, and I'm going to say, God, what do you have in Obadiah like that we can learn from? And it's not necessarily you make a promise about something that I'm supposed to apply to my life, but like, what was this that was said or written down in this context, and what does that tell me above nothing else? But what does it tell me about the character of God? If I don't learn anything else, I should learn about God. And maybe that changes something in my life. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it helps me see Scripture in a different way that does apply to me, and I see it in a healthy way instead of an unhealthy way, right? Mm-hmm. But every single word in that Bible can tell me something, if nothing else, about the character of God. And sometimes we read the Bible for us, And that's good. It's there for you to learn from. But I think way more often when we're trying to take something and apply it to our lives, we're really supposed to be learning about God and who He is, how He works. And if you can get there, if you're starting to understand the character and the very nature of God, like you don't spend so much time digging for gold in the Bible to tell you some kind of crazy revelation about your life. You just live the life that God has set out for you, trusting in the character that you now understand by taking in His counsel. Mm-hmm. And so I was really excited about that. But I think that's one of the things we miss is we find the verses that you like, and you just pick that, you put it up on your wall, you stamp it in your Bible, you get to put it on your license plate, and then you live your life based upon one thing that doesn't really apply to you that was meant for some. God had. I said somebody recently, we were talking about God's plans, and I said I'm not convinced that when God says I got a plan for your life. He's talking about Jeremiah. I got a plan for your life. I'm like, I don't think that's everybody. He's got a plan for Jeremiah. He's got, just like He has general revelation in the Bible for everybody to see, but doesn't necessarily speak specifically to your life. There are certain instances when He has talked to a specific person and said, I got a plan for you. I'm not convinced that He really looks at everybody and says, I know exactly what your life should look like in circumstance. Mm-hmm. Now, I know what I want it to look like. I've given you parameters which how to live, to love me, to worship me, and to impact people around you for the joy and benefit of my glory. Exactly. But I want you to be a machinist or a pro bowler. I'm not convinced. I'm not sure it's damaging to think either way. In fact, there's people can find consolation in thinking that whatever this is was God's plan. But I think you can also, that can shadow you a little bit. And you don't deal with life's realities because you think God's hand wanted it to happen, as opposed to it happened as a consequence of somebody else's sin or yours, and then you don't do anything to change your life.
Or you sit there just waiting for God to answer, do I go left or right? Do I go left or right? And He's like, I don't really give a rip. As you go, make disciples.
Yeah.
That's your instruction. When you go left, awesome, right. Every once in a while in Scripture, there is a specific assignment. Usually it's short term. It's not like, here's what I want you to do. Old Testament, you might have had prophets, but even them, there was years that they would be doing it. And you only get a few times where God says, here's exactly where what I want you to do. Other times it was just, as you're going, you do your thing. Yeah. You do something. So anyway.
I don't know. I'm not.
Here's another thing about choosing out verses and stuff. Like,
go ahead. I love it.
So last night I was reading, and this is the first time that I think I've ever caught this. I was reading in Luke, and they're walking through Samaria, and they're kind of giving Jesus some guff there, and like James and Peter are like, should we call down fire? I don't think I've ever read that before.
Really?
Yeah.
The Sons of Thunder. Yeah.
I thought about naming a band that one time. I thought it'd be sweet.
You could have cool T-shirts.
Yeah, I thought it'd be.
What happened? You started with something that seemed to have some teeth on it, and then you abandoned it at Dan's first blanch, and you went into band name.
Sorry. Sorry. Well, yeah. So that's a thing about choosing verses, because I don't think I've ever read that before, and it struck me that it's something that wily I haven't caught and retained before.
Is that going to be your life verse?
I don't think so.
Shall we call down
Shall we call down fire?
Actually, that's pretty cool. I'm just saying. I feel like I should say that every time I light the grill.
I do believe that Jesus reacted fairly negatively to that idea, though.
He
crap, no grill. It's out. So anyway, let me ask you this. So we're talking about the snake handling. Detrimental to the relationship with God, Dan?
I don't know if it's detrimental any more than someone who says going to Sunday school makes you more holy, and going to Sunday school less makes you less holy.
Yeah.
They're saying doing snakes makes you holy. It's just kind of like a pharisaical thing. It's like Jesus going, well, I still love you, and you love me. Your heart's right. You're a little messed up. Why don't you go ahead and try to get that figured out?
Put that snake away.
Yeah. Put this snake down, young man. So
it's the thing that smacks of it to me. It's a work thing. It's like a when James is talking about the works that are produced from faith, he doesn't talk about handling snakes.
Yeah, it's not like I'm going to prove my faith. In his context, it's like, well, live out your faith.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And that's not living out your faith. That's like, what? If you notice that it was in the context of an evangelistic event in a park, and I'm thinking, what kind of person responds at that event? What is an evangelistic? What does that look like?
Yeah.
Okay, come on, little boys and girls. You know, we're going to talk about Jesus.
Get out the snakes.
I mean, I don't know what that looks like. I hope
Well, and you know, again, that's seeing something that I don't know that is necessarily there. When you look and say a bunch of guys wheeling snakes around, and you want to say, hey, it's a miracle of God and a test of faith that they're not getting bit. You know, it's because you want to see that. You wanted to witness something. You want to claim that the Spirit of God is there, doing something specific, and it's this. And I'm just not sure that that's the case.
What about the dudes who show up and who just want to see him get bit?
Oh, that'd be kind of interesting.
Yeah, he's gonna get bit. I know it.
So I think we should have a group of people in Christian T-shirts that go to the bull running deal and see if God protects them from getting speared. Gored, I guess.
That's not in Mark, Dan. It
I
doesn't say
know, but
anything
it's an
about
application.
bull spearing.
It's an application of God protecting you. There's got to be some promise in there somewhere.
Not saying I don't believe in God, but I'm not going to volunteer myself.
Well,
for
God protected David from being speared, so I'm sure that's a promise.
David dodged the spears.
And God protected Daniel in a lion's den. And
Okay.
he said, we'll be like eagles. We should fly out of there.
Okay, I'll give you the lion's den as a direct intervention. It does not say that like God intentionally moved the spear of Saul. It said he dodged the spear.
He gave him
Maybe he's
quickness.
quick on his feet.
He was watching dodgeball, and he dodged wrenches, so he can dodge spears.
yeah, that sounds good.
Wait, I turned away for 2 seconds. You guys let the
They all lost
conversation
out. What's he doing? What's he doing?
I heard
What he's typing?
tap typing. Hey, you're listening to Live from the Past. Pants, do you have a thought?
I try not to.
Okay, fair enough.
You do well.
You know, so you know, it's illegal in most states too. It's
As a matter of fact.
it's legal in West Virginia. You have to have a permit in like Tennessee, and there's a lot of states where you can't. I'm guessing you can't snake handle in Iowa.
I'm guessing. You know, I'm thinking.
Dang it!
You can't be legal. I'm thinking a lot of that happens up in the mountains, you know, and it's just not recorded. We don't know how many people really have died in snake handling.
Yeah, it seems like I don't know. I suppose it is what it is. I suppose it's probably not. It's not taking them away from God. It would seem actually. I guess my biggest concern, and this goes back to the character of God discussion, is that it makes me think differently of God's character if He says you're not going to get bit by snakes and you get by snakes.
Okay, so how about this?
Okay.
So you're a snake handler and you're doing it in faith. We come from the understanding that is misapplying Scripture.
Uh-huh.
So it's careless, reckless, almost suicidal.
Uh-huh.
How does it go when he closes his eyes from the snake bite and opens them in front of Jesus?
It's going to be awkward.
He's like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah.
Jesus said, "Dude,
What happened?
I didn't talk to you about snakes."
That's in the disputed part. Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't seem like a strong finish to the race.
Not a strong finish. I mean, I wouldn't say it's like a lack of faith that would like disqualify you from heaven, but it's kind of like,
Well, God, I finished it.
I don't know.
I think the most harmful part about this is that people who are like Ben and just browse through the news of CNN and they are not of the faith. They say, look at that, some dude who believes in God died from a snake bite because he thought God was him. Well, God's not real. Just like that 50 Proofs dude. They all sound the same. God's not real. I think that's the most harmful part of this.
Well, I mean, that's the same thing with them kids singing the gay song, right? You same problem. People glancing through news and they see some guy acting like a complete doofus.
Christians need to stop being so doofusy. People are watching us.
I don't know if we're helping the cause here. You're listening to Live from the Past. Thanks for joining us so far tonight. We are on every Monday night at livefromthepath.org.
We don't know why.
10 to midnight. Hey, you can catch us during the week at that same web address. There's a link to sign up for the audio podcast. The videos are actually posted on youtube.com/thepathonline. Our full show is there, and the full show from the previous week will always be hanging out at livefromthepath.org. And again, clips from our other artists at youtube.com/livefromthepath. Clips from guest today over the phone, Jeff Arrandale. Also, clips out there from Ryan Paul Buck, Wayne Stewart, Ryan Sheeler has been on recently, and there's clips for him out there. Lots of cool local artists out there playing around, and yeah, make sure you go check it out. Next week, the Saves on Sunday's coming back in studio. We haven't seen those guys for a while. They're going to be playing at the. There's a Christian festival going on at the end of July. In fact, we're going to talk to the Prairie Land Fest. And those guys, this is their first year putting that on. We're going to talk to them at the beginning of July. Sounds like there's a pretty cool story about how that came about.
The area?
It's not real close to us. It was like 2 or 3 hours away, but it's in Iowa.
Yeah, okay.
So we'll talk to them. But Saved on Sunday's going to be out there. Double J's going to be out there. So I don't know if you're in that area. Once I remember where it's at, I'll tell you.
Sounds like a road trip to me, fellas.
Actually, they invited us out there.
Did they?
They did. They
Fire
did.
up the RV?
It's the week before the Spirit Midwest Festival. I don't think we're gonna make it. We got a lot of stuff to do. But hey, and that reminds me, that is coming up. Spirit Midwest. If you go to spiritmidwest.com, and check out the band. Boy, they got an awesome lineup. Willett's going to be there. In fact, Willett's going to swing by Pathway Church the Sunday after the Spirit Midwest Music Festival and hang out with us a little bit. And but they're going to be headlining again this year. Todd Agnew's going to be out there, and then just a ton of the bands that we've had on the show are going to be there, hanging out. It's going to be a ton of fun. We're going to be there. We're camping this year. We're going to hang out. We got an RV. We're going to be broadcasting from the thing. It's going to be pretty sweet.
Are we guaranteeing no rain?
No.
We're not going to guarantee that?
No, that rain was pretty fun. Rile it up. It was hot out there. The Faith Healers might come back by. I don't know if they're coming. Maybe they drive.
I think we bring our own snakes.
Have Faith Healing will travel. They're going to creep me out.
So Saved on Sunday.
Let's pray.
They have new band member, right?
Yeah, they're down. They're a 3-piece. They got a guy playing drums who we have not met before, but same bass player, same lead guy.
Can we make fun of him?
Absolutely, I'm okay with that.
Is he going to be here?
They're doing the glory of God, joy of others, make it happen.
Oh yes.
So yeah, they're going to be here next week. They're going to be playing some songs, and they are just so close to releasing their acoustic album. So if you go check them out on Facebook and like them up, they actually could use like a $10 pledge for like 25 folks, get everything tucked up, and they can get that CD produced. So anyway, we'll talk to them next week. I'm excited to have them back in here. We'll catch up with them.
Should we have a call-a-thon next week while they're on?
A call-a-thon?
We'll have whatever they call them. I don't know. We'll have pants on the phone.
PBS things where they call
beg for money every 10 minutes.
Telethon.
Dan, I seriously,
Telethon.
I'm not gonna let the chat encourage you. If you show up with a snake at this thing, I'm not sure what I'm gonna do about it. I can't. Here's the deal. What do you do? What do you do? Guy brings a snake. It's like a weapon.
Yeah.
It's like a concealed snake.
I've got a permit. Can't I bring a snake?
A permit to carry.
It includes all weapons.
22 boa.
I think that your wife should paint snakes on our wall.
Yeah. No one's gonna come back in here. Well, it's gonna attract the wrong
If they
element.
have
Let me put it that way. Let me handle that wall for you.
The creepy snake people.
Oh man. Oh my. All right. Anyway, so you're listening to Live from the Path.
I'm gonna dream of snakes.
I don't know. I don't think I'll dream of snakes.
I actually had a dream of snakes the other day. I can't remember it now, but now that I say it, it's like it was very vivid and it was after me. And I woke up.
That's a boomer. Hey, let me ask you. Let me ask you another question.
Me?
Yeah,
I'm ready.
So
yes.
So there was a question, a theological question that was posed, and basically is this talking about being sinful to disagree with God. And so,
where was this posted?
It was on a ChristianPost.com. I don't care. We don't really have.
It
time.
wasn't on our chat then.
No. We don't have time to delve into the subject. The question was, is it a sin for me not to like the doctrine of election? It was talking to the question was posed to a Calvinist, and so like. The response was, I'd like to deal with it more broadly, though. Yeah. It's like, anytime you read in the Bible and something is going on, and your first reaction is, oh, man, I don't know if I could. Like, God is on the throne, he'll do what he wants to do, but I don't know about that.
Like Moses saying, hey, really, don't destroy all the people.
Yeah, exactly. So the question is it a sin to not agree with God and actions that he's taken?
I think you can voice your disagreement. I'm just trying to think, kind of going through the Moses disagreed and said, hey, I mean, he would have submitted ultimately to whatever God did, knowing God is sovereign. So I think it's okay to say, hey, God, I don't like this. When we go through pain and suffering, I've had that prayer, God, I don't like this, but if you're teaching me something, boy, help me learn it. I'm going to accept it. I'd really like you to change this. I really don't like it. Don't agree with it. I think if you go with the right heart, you can disagree, and as long as you ultimately say, okay, but you're God.
Yeah, that was my question, because my first reaction was like, and this is especially true, I think, as you go through Old Testament stuff. Like, there's just stuff goes on there, and you're like, man, I know that's justice. Like, I get that as justice, but my first reaction is, oh no, well, those, because in the picture of God and justice, like, if you're looking at the two characters in that particular scenario, I would be the guy whose God's justice is being applied to. You know what? I am never God. I'm always the guy that's in trouble. and so my immediate sympathies go with the guy whose God's justice is being applied to. And so I think, like, their life is lost. Like, if my family impacted mine. Now, I'm not living in active rebellion to God, which would be the difference between me and the guy in the example. But I think my first reaction is, like, loss of human life that results from God's justice, or pain and suffering that occurs that is part of God's justice. And I think to myself, oh no, I don't know that I like that.
I mean, look what happened, like in the Old Testament times when God said, I want you to go into this land and destroy everyone, kill every man, woman, child, cow, pig, whatever, just kill it all. And there were times they went in and killed most, but everybody. And when they didn't, it ended up getting them in a lot of trouble. Right. It came up to bite them later. And that's where you go. At some point you say, well, God, whatever. I mean, not that God's going to tell us to go around and kill people, but whatever it is God says to do, you might fight it, you might struggle with it, you might try to process it, but ultimately you bow to his sovereignty.
And that's, I'm there. It made me think, should I not be able to go to God and say, I'm having trouble understanding this aspect. I'm asking for help to see this clearly as you as you see it, so that
I want to obey you.
Yeah.
How? Show me how.
Yeah. Help me. Like, somewhere my base reaction to this is different than your reaction. What started that? It's not just, this is just revealing something about me that is not consistent with you. What can I learn from that? Okay. I don't know. It was an interesting question to me, because I thought my first reaction was, well, if God thinks one thing or does one thing or has direction on one thing, and I do something else, that is obviously separating God and I, and sin, would generally be used that same definition. But I think it negates to a certain extent God's desire for relationship with us and our attempt to grow to know him more, simply by having, Moses, I think Moses is a great example, because Moses is able to say, look, you just spare them. And like, God's first position was, this is what's going to happen. And he's relented based upon the reaction of, of people that believe in him and have petitioned him to do something different. That doesn't make the thing that he originally wanted to do unjust, right? Mm-hmm. He was still just in his original action. And also consistently just in relenting based upon the petition of his people. So, I don't know. Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Okay,
so,
yeah, good. We're back up and rolling.
The sermon this coming week is the belt of truth.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I need help with a title that I can put out on the sign, that is not in the context of the armor of God, because the person driving by on Myrtle Hay Road's like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Armor of God.
And I thought about, knowing truth, or, we got to come up with a title that isn't like, we are the source of all truth.
And the truth shall set your pants free. That's worth popping in on. What does Jesus have to say about that?
Is that like the pants on the ground guy?
Yeah. It's pants stuff that.
But I'm free.
Okay, that's true.
Truth is okay.
No. Wait, here's the question about this. So, like, church signs in general, I don't know what draws people in, because I go to the building anyway.
Yeah.
I generally snicker at them. I'm like, that's dumb.
I don't know how many people say, there's a sign, I'm going to church. Yeah.
Because, like, do you think there's a guy that really, if you say truth found here, guy's like, yeah, you know what?
I was wondering where that was.
I do need some truth. Where do those fellas meet?
I saw one sign that said, rapture, the only way to fly. And I went,
Now we have a family at our church that came because of our response on the sign, and then ended up on the news when we had there were their suicides, and the word was spread pretty rapidly that we were trying to reach out to the community and offer a place to pray.
Yep.
And a family like, wow, that was impactful, that was meaningful, that's really great, and now they're part of Pathway. So you can say, but it wasn't like, oh, that's a clever title of a sermon.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't that.
But then again, I think it is. I think people need to know where you're going to be.
cinch it up with truth.
I think
that one. Cinch it up with truth.
What is it?
Cinch it up with truth.
Cinch?
Cinch.
Like belt cinches.
Like you're
I don't have
cinching up
that.
your pants.
I always have to add. I add loops. I don't tighten. My belly tightens inside.
I didn't know you could tighten. This a big one the other way.
It's a two-way belt.
Whoa. That's crazy.
I didn't even realize. This is twice the value I thought it was.
I mean, I thought about like in search of truth or finding truth or, is truth relevant or relative or, I don't want to ask the question that no one's asking or answer the question no one's asking.
Okay, well,
we're all talking about it because we're like, oh, look, the truth is eroding. The
Yeah.
believers, we all get that. But I'm talking about Joe, who's driving down, who thinks Glee is the greatest show ever.
What if the question on the sign was seriously ... what is actually true? Because I don't know. That seems like that's relevant across the board. Like what is actual true? I mean, what is really true? The thing that I'm saying, like, hey, I'd almost listen to that just to hear what you're claiming is actually true. But then again, I'm whatever, I'm going anyway. I don't know whether I'm just drawn in because I'm like, I know what you're gonna say. Yeah. The man will agree with me. I don't know. Church signs are tough. You gotta have a sign. People gotta know where you're gonna be,
Really?
and they gotta know what you're talking about.
Is there truth? I don't know. See, is that compelling? Does it make you go, is there? I
had no idea.
They know what we're going to... They don't know. In today's world, you don't know what a church is going to say because it depends if it's leaning biblically or...
How about you just say...
If it's just a social experiment.
Coming this Sunday, we could say anything. What do you know?
It'll be true.
What do you know about it?
Coming this Sunday. Find out.
Are you wearing your belt? Bring your belt to church.
Life without a belt. That's funny. It's gonna track the wrong element.
If you don't have a belt, your pants will fall down.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, Dan.
Accessorizing with the Bible.
Wow.
You're in a real pickle here. I don't know if there's anything I can do about it.
I had a sign when I'm ready to go. I've just been playing with it this morning. It's time to change it. I have last week's, and that's old news now. Preparing for battle. We're in spiritual war.
Yeah, I don't know.
Ephesians 6.
I don't know. I don't know what to call it. Oh, all right. I was reading in Ezekiel this week, and
the truth about truth. Oh, go ahead.
I can't follow stuff, fellas. This will be my second round through Ezekiel, and I find myself getting solidly understanding maybe 20% of it, and I got it up a little bit, maybe 30% on the second go around. But don't get discouraged here. It was written in a particular context for a particular group of people in which it just takes a little more work to get. Not that it can't be gotten or that you're a dullard for not getting it. These are things I'm saying to myself. Ben Fooster, not a dullard. Ezekiel knows what he's saying. It will be revealed to you in time. But it's really interesting, actually, that process of trying to put yourself in the position of that particular group of people, and not try. And again, maybe taking the opposite tack. We try to apply stuff to my own life, and it's like, what does Ezekiel have for me? But take yourself out of it and put yourself in that lifestyle.
Yeah.
And then try to hear it from that way. And it's like watching the History Channel. It's the Hatfield and McCoys. Did you watch that, Nathaniel? You don't get that channel, do you? I only get over the air channels. I
watched it on the internet.
Was it good?
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought the History Channel, most of it wasn't like real history though. It's like Operation Repo and stuff like that.
Oh, I don't know. I don't watch that stuff.
Yeah, that's like this Discovery Channel.
I get 13.1, 13.2,
Yeah.
and 13.3. Everything else comes in real shifty. That's about all I get. All right.
You don't get the 11s?
No, they don't come in. They don't come in consistently.
The 11s are where it's at.
Yeah. Anyway. So anyway, read Ezekiel. I don't know. We got 5 minutes left. We've done tapped out everything. We could just bail. What do you think, fella?
You don't want to have readings from Ezekiel?
No.
And you, son of man, take a brick and lay it before you, and engrave on it a city, even Jerusalem.
What is it? I was reading I was reading through the study Bible, and it said this is street theater. Like Ezekiel's out there actually like putting on a show for people. And it reminded me of Noah. It reminded me of Noah time, where the guy's out there doing something of God, and people are looking at him going, "This guy's a real idiot. He has no idea what's going on."
Yeah, it was. It was an attention getter. So, okay, if you can use snakes, here's a scripture. You, O son of man, take a sharp sword, use it as a barber's razor, pass it over your head and your beard, take balances for weighing, and divide the hair. Why don't we do that?
I don't know.
Because it was written to Ezekiel.
It was to Ezekiel specifically. He's a scroll eater.
Yeah.
He ate a scroll, tasted like honey. You ever try to eat a scroll?
Wasn't he the one who had to stay in a certain place and then he had to poop and then use the poop for
He was supposed
firewood?
He was supposed to cook stuff with his own dung.
Yeah.
But then again, God relented. Yeah, that's another good example. Ezekiel said, "I want you to use your own dung to cook the thing." And then Ezekiel goes, "Lord, I've never defiled myself." And he said, "Fine, we'll give you some cow dung. Use the cow stuff."
That's right.
That wasn't a sin. I don't like that answer, fella on the Christian Post.
Yeah, what does he know?
I don't think he.
What does he know?
I think he thought through that correctly. Well, what do I know?
Father Tattoo's smart. He says we should recap what we learned.
What did we learn today?
What was the word of the day?
Blue.
Well, okay, so let's. So we started with our God is. Well, first of all, we learned that I hit a group of bunnies with my lawnmower, and that was a mistake. We talked to Jeff Arrandale.
Should have fed them to the snakes.
Jeff Arrandale has got that. He's got a show coming up on Saturday, 6 to 9 at the Green Grounds. Hey, just go out there. I'm asking you to go out and check out Jeff Arrandale at the Green Grounds. Okay, cancel your plans. Head out there. He loves Jesus.
Yeah,
so at least you could do.
You love Jesus?
It's Valley Junction at the Green Grounds Cafe. So we talked to Jeff Arrandale, and then we hit proof number 4 on GodIsImaginary.com, and we talked through God versus science. Frankly, a poor showing on the God is Imaginary guy's part. I'm hoping he's got more. You can get into some nice technical discussions with folks. This was not one of them.
No.
And yeah, I mean, if you're starting with the premise that God is imaginary, you're never going to come to the point where you've proven God by science. But you're worshiping science as well. You just don't realize it. And so anyway, next week we're tackling number 5, which is, have you even read the Bible? Do you realize that it's bigoted, sexist, and supports slavery? So I think that's next week. We'll hit that. That's proof number 5, and we'll check that out. We gave a lot of advice tonight. All of them centered around a wedding. Did you notice? One was a wedding gift. One had to do with potentially moving in with somebody but not getting married to them. And the other one had to do with a divorce, which is being played out in the public papers. And so, again, keep an eye. I mean, seriously, keep an eye on your marriage. All right, hold tight. God has given you this to have joy in your life. Hold tight to the woman of your youth. Be a good man. Follow the Lord, and then you don't have these problems. Except for that gift thing. That crystal thing's going to come up anyway. Yeah. Defriend anybody that buys crystal. They're dangerous people.
What do you do with crystal?
I don't know. This was a big mistake of our marriage. We went and looked at like nice plates, and we looked at it, and it was like $800. I'm like, we don't have it.
What are we gonna do with that?
We're not gonna do that. And we didn't. And I can't think of any time I've sat in my roomy, kitchen table and said, I wish we had some really expensive plates to go with this low rent food and table.
We don't invite anyone to our house because we don't have nice enough plates. So.
Oh really? We always go out. All right.
Exactly. All right. We're in a different culture now. We just meet people out all the time. I mean, all the time. But we rarely have people over.
I do kind of miss that. It's weird coming from that culture. I'm not as comfortable going into people's houses as folks who were doing that all the time. Yeah. I'm like, I don't want to go in their place, man. They walk around naked in there, and then I don't like going.
I like going into other people's places.
You're creepy.
Checking it out.
You're the same guy that peeps on guys at the photo shop.
No, I don't know.
Yes,
that's
you did.
Not what it
That's
is.
exactly
I
what
think you said you were.
That's what I learned.
We have that on record.
Oh man.
And then
That's what I got most out of tonight.
is that he's a creeper?
Yeah.
Nathaniel's a creeper.
I shaved off the stash.
There you go. All right.
Apparently, you should have kept it on.
Apparently.
You're a creeper.
And we talked about snake handlers, and I think ultimately, just be careful what you're reading. Be Don't approach the Bible and see what you want to see, but see what God has for you.
See what the true message of that text is, not what you wanted to say.
Now, here's the thing. I think you got two people that are trying desperately to follow Christ and to live a life that honors God can still come to two different things in certain places. Okay? I think we can do that. We can shake hands, be friends, and just call it that we're seeing things differently. However, be careful with yourself. I mean, it does matter. Don't take one thing and place your banner on it, start wearing it as a tattoo, and then living your life based upon it. Make sure you got it in context. Just be careful with the Lord's word is to be handled delicately and specifically, not for you to freelance everywhere. All right. Anybody else learn anything else? That was a good idea. That's professional right there. That's professional style recap.
Yeah.
That's a solid idea. We need thinkers around here. Thing usually trails off at like 11:30. All right, hey, you have been listening to Live from the Path. You can catch us every Monday night from 10 to midnight here at livefromthepath.org. In all seriousness, I want you to show up to this Jeff Arrandale show, otherwise I'll be angry with you. But I don't have your real name, so I can't carry anger very long. Also, to the chat, thank you guys very much for hanging out with us, and thanks for interacting with the show. We always appreciate you guys chiming in. I hope you feel that we've done you justice in representing what you've said and responding to it appropriately. If we haven't, feel free to write us in. We give advice. I mean, I don't know if you hear earlier, but we do advise.
We'll send sorry cards.
There's some rude pseudo-internet radio jockeys that were ignoring me on the chat. And so anyway, thanks guys so much for hanging out with us. We do appreciate it. I'm going to let you hang out just a little bit with Jeff Arrandale, and we will see you next week with Saved on Sunday. Have a wonderful week.